It all begins with an old story taken from a book. According to the legend, the great King Uther Pendragon ruled Britain with justice, but when he died, he left no heir. Without a king, the kingdom fell into chaos, and several nobles tried to seize power by force. Then the wizard Merlin appears, creating a magical sword called Excalibur and driving it into a stone. Only the true heir would be able to pull it out. Many try, but no one succeeds until one day, a boy does. His name is King Arthur, the lost son of Uther. Arthur grows up, becomes king, and rules alongside the Knights of the Round Table, but not everything is peaceful. His half-sister, Morgana, believes she is the rightful queen and uses dark magic to challenge him. Although Arthur manages to defeat her, Morgana swears she will return when the kingdom is weak and without a leader to claim Excalibur. And even though it sounds like a fairy tale, this story is still alive. It even appears in the book of a boy named Alex. That morning, Alex arrives late to school. While riding the bus, he receives a message from his best friend, Betters, asking for help. When he gets there, he finds him being bullied by two older boys, Lance and Kay, who want to take his lunch money. Even though he's scared, Alex decides to stand up to them, but things go wrong. Lance shoves him and throws his homework into a puddle. Furious, Alex lunges at him, but a teacher steps in before things get worse. The three of them end up in detention, and the bullies promise revenge. After school, Lance and Kay chase Alex down the street. Trying to escape, he runs into an abandoned building, but they catch up to him and threaten him. In the middle of the chaos, Alex trips and hits his head, falling unconscious. When he wakes up, he's alone, but something catches his attention among the rubble, a sword stuck in a stone. Without understanding how, Alex manages to pull it out with ease, and in that moment, the blade shines with an intense light. But when he hears police sirens, he panics, stuffs the sword into his backpack, and leaves the place. Minutes later, at home, he shows his discovery to Betters. The sword has a crystal in its handle and inscriptions in Latin. Using a translator, they discover something incredible. The sword belonged to King Arthur, the same one from the book Alex's father gave him. Even so, the boys don't take it seriously. They think it's just a coincidence or a legend. Alex even jokingly calls Betters his royal knight. In the end, he decides to hide the sword in his closet and forget about it. But what he doesn't know is that someone else has already felt the return of Excalibur. Deep beneath the world, Morgana awakens, and she's not the only one. Another presence also senses the sword and appears at Stonehenge, taking the form of a mysterious young man. After stealing clothes from a market, the boy uses magic to force some police officers to take him straight to Alex's school. There, he introduces himself as Merlin, a rather strange new student. His odd behavior quickly makes him the target of ridicule, even from Alex, but something doesn't add up. During an astronomy class, Merlin can't stop staring at Alex. The teacher mentions that in 4 days, there will be a solar eclipse, and that seems to deeply worry the new boy, who suddenly runs out without explanation. Later, during recess, Merlin returns and says something that leaves everyone confused. He claims that the heir of King Arthur has returned, and points directly at Alex. As expected, no one believes him. The others laugh and Alex, uncomfortable, walks away. At the end of the day, Alex goes back home determined to get rid of the sword and forget everything that happened. But that night, something changes. A noise wakes him up, and when he looks out the window, he sees something terrifying, a skeleton emerging from the ground, holding a sword wrapped in flames. Frightened, he tries to call his mom, but she's not home. With no other choice, he locks himself in his room and grabs the sword, which begins to glow intensely from the crystal. Finally, the creature manages to break into Alex's room. He tries to defend himself, but with a single blow, the skeleton sends Excalibur flying out of his hands. Then it attacks him with its flaming sword. Alex tries to dodge, but the monster grabs him and is about to deliver the final blow, when suddenly Merlin appears and disintegrates it at the last second. After using his magic, Merlin becomes very weak, and before leaving, he tells Alex to meet him later at a cafe. Alex agrees, and now that everything seems connected to the sword, he decides to check his father's book again. Meanwhile, in her lair, Morgana discovers that her warrior has been defeated, and not only by a child, but also by a new version of Merlin. Furious, she manages to break free from her prison beneath the earth and summons an army of creatures to recover Excalibur. Back at home, Alex falls asleep next to the sword, but his mother finds him and scolds him for having something so dangerous. She orders him to turn it over to the authorities, but Alex decides to do the opposite. He grabs the sword and runs off to meet Merlin and get answers. Along with betters, he goes to the restaurant where the wizard now works and lives, and there he reveals the truth. He is the real Merlin, and by pulling the sword, Alex has become a target. Morgana's creatures will hunt him every night. And just as he says, when night falls, something strange happens. Time freezes for everyone, except for those connected to the sword, like Alex and now betters as well. Merlin warns them that if they don't stop Morgana before the eclipse, the entire country will fall under her control. But the boys don't fully believe him, so to convince them, Merlin takes on his adult form and shows them a vision of the future, a world ruled by Morgana, where everyone is trapped as prisoners. After seeing that, there's no doubt left. Merlin tells Alex that he is the chosen one to find and defeat the sorceress, and then he disappears. Determined, Alex convinces betters to return to the place where he found the sword to figure out what to do, but they don't have much time because Morgana's soldiers are about to return. At that moment, Lance and Kay show up again to bother him, but instead of fighting, Alex comes up with an idea. He challenges them to try pulling the sword from the stone, telling them that if he can do it, they'll have to kneel before him. Even though they don't really understand, they accept. And when Alex pulls it out effortlessly, they keep their promise. Half joking, he calls them his knights, but Lance doesn't take it seriously. He shoves Alex and grabs the sword, thinking it's all a trick. Right then, the ground begins to shake, and 3 skeletal warriors appear, riding horses made of fire. Seeing them, Lance tries to fight back, but they easily disarm him. One of the creatures is about to strike again when Alex recovers Excalibur, blocks the attack, and shouts for everyone to run. The 4 of them take off, calling for help, but no one responds. Just as Merlin said, time is frozen, and they are completely alone. The riders chase them relentlessly, and in the middle of the escape, Alex opens the door of a parked car, causing one of them to crash and disintegrate. Still 2 remain. Then Kay reveals that she knows how to drive, and the 4 of them jump into a car to escape. One of the riders catches up, but Kay slams it into the curb, destroying it. Only one is left, so Kay turns the car around and speeds straight toward it, finishing off the last creature. But at that exact moment, time returns to normal, and they realize the car was actually being driven by Kay in the real world. After the scare, the 4 of them manage to get out of the vehicle and hide in an alley. But Lance, confused and upset, confronts Alex and demands an explanation. So the next day, Alex and betters go to Lance's house and explain everything they discovered with Merlin. Alex tells them they need to find Morgana's hideout, and that the only clue might come from his father, since he was the one who gave him the King Arthur book. The problem is that, since the divorce, his dad lives in a remote area of Brittany. Even so, they decide to go there, convinced that they must save the country, just like the Knights of the Round Table, and surprisingly, Lance and Kay agree to help. The next day, the 4 of them take a bus to begin their journey, but along the way, Merlin appears in the form of an L. Using his magic, he takes control of the vehicle and uses the moment to teach them the code of the knights. Then he guides them to Stonehenge, where he opens a magical portal that serves as a shortcut. From there, they must continue on foot. During the long walk, Merlin decides to train them. He casts a spell to create copies of Excalibur and gives one to each of them. Then he brings trees to life, turning them into training opponents. At first, the boys struggle, but they soon begin to understand attack and defense moves, as if the trees were teaching them directly. But suddenly, Morgana attacks from beneath the ground, causing massive roots to burst out and trap them all. They try to help each other, But in the middle of the chaos, Lance, driven by ambition, grabs the real Excalibur and tries to run away. He doesn't get far, because both he and the others are caught and begin to be dragged into the earth. From a distance, Merlin hears their cries and casts a powerful spell that destroys the roots and frees them, but the effort leaves him completely exhausted, forcing him to retreat and recover his strength. After this, Alex confronts Lance and demands that he return the sword, but Lance refuses and declares himself the leader. The group continues through a swamp, but Betters disagrees with his attitude and confronts him. Lance tries to attack him, but Alex steps in and challenges him to a sword fight. In the middle of the duel, Alex calls him out for his selfishness, which only makes Lance angrier. And then, as their swords clash, the worst happens. Excalibur breaks. Without the sword, everything seems lost. But Alex remembers a part of the book about the Lady of the Lake, the guardian of the sword. So he asks for her help. And suddenly, a hand emerges from the water holding Excalibur, completely restored. Thanks to this, their journey can continue. Lance, now regretful, finally accepts Alex as the leader and swears loyalty to him, just like Kay and Betters. The four continue their journey through Brittany, and along the way, they meet a group of women who offer them ponies to travel faster. But there's no time for explanations because the sun begins to set. And that can only mean one thing: Morgana's warriors are about to return. Just like before, time freezes and the women disappear, while skeletons rise once again from the ground, this time riding ponies as well. The boys race toward the forest as a large number of creatures chase them without stopping. In the middle of the escape, Betters falls off his horse and is left in danger. Alex tells Kay to go help him, while he and Lance distract the enemies. Kay runs to him and reaches him just as one of the warriors is about to strike, so he steps in and slashes the creature's arm with his sword. Thanks to that, Betters manages to break free, climbs back onto his pony, and catches up with his friends as they ride through the forest. But the skeleton warriors don't give up, and more of them rise from the ground, making the chase even more dangerous. To make things worse, the path ends at a massive cliff overlooking the sea. Alex comes up with an idea. He jumps off his pony and leaps. And although the others hesitate, they follow him. In the end, it wasn't a leap into the void, but onto a solid part of the slope, allowing them to trick the riders, who fall straight into the sea. After that, the group finally reaches the heart of Britain, the ancient city of King Arthur, where they rest among the ruins of an old palace. The next morning, Alex goes into town looking for his father, hoping to find answers about Morgana. But instead, he finds his Aunt Sophie. She tells him that his father no longer lives there and had problems with alcohol, which led to the divorce from his mother. Alex refuses to believe it and shows her the King Arthur book his father had given him. But Sophie reveals something that leaves him in shock. The book was actually a gift from his mother. Hearing this, Alex feels like everything he believed about his father was a lie, and he walks away completely disillusioned. With no hope left, he returns to the shore and throws the book into the sea, as if trying to leave that entire story behind. But his friends don't abandon him. Betters tries to cheer him up by reminding him of everything he's accomplished, while Kay and Lance tell him that thanks to him, they've become a real team. At that moment, Merlin appears in his adult form, holding the book Alex had thrown away, and hands it back to him. He explains that it's not King Arthur's blood that makes him worthy of Excalibur, but his courage and his choice to do what's right. That gives Alex his motivation back. Even so, they still don't know where Morgana is. Merlin tells him the answer lies in the book, and when Alex checks it again, he discovers that the sorceress is still in her old castle in the region of Glastonbury. Now that they know where to go, they need to prepare. Alex and Betters go to an arcade, where Alex uses a duplication spell to get more coins and buy gear to protect themselves. Then, using a portal created by Merlin, they arrive in Glastonbury. But all they find is a small, empty palace. As they enter, the crystal in Excalibur begins to glow, and Alex realizes the real entrance is underground. He drives the sword into the ground and opens a secret passage that leads to a set of stairs below. As they descend, they find a cave filled with dark roots that begin to attack them. Despite resisting, Betters and Kay are captured, but Lance stays behind, fighting off the roots so Alex can move forward. Alex continues alone to the depths of the cave, where he finds Morgana's lair above a river of lava. There he sees his friends trapped, and finally, the witch appears before him. She demands that he surrender and hand over the sword, but Alex refuses. Morgana then transforms into a massive creature, like a dragon, and begins breathing fire. Alex manages to dodge the attacks, but he ends up cornered. The witch tells him he doesn't deserve the sword because he isn't a descendant of Arthur. And for a moment, Alex hesitates. He lowers his guard and offers Excalibur, but at the last second, he pulls it back and strikes Morgana, leaving her badly wounded. Her magic begins to fade, and the entire cave starts to collapse. Alex rushes to save his friends, who manage to break free, and together they escape just before everything falls apart. Thanks to their teamwork, Morgana is finally defeated. But the story isn't over yet. The sword must return to its place. Standing before a lake, Alex throws Excalibur, and a hand rises from the water to catch it and take it back, bringing the legend to a close once again. With their mission seemingly complete, the group returns to London by bus. When Alex gets home, he finds his mother asleep in her room. He wants to tell her everything he's been through, but he doesn't feel ready, so he simply goes to sleep. The next morning, he wakes up and notices something strange. His window is covered in roots. Shortly after, Merlin appears with bad news. Morgana has not been defeated. She is still alive, stronger, and more determined than ever. Alex doesn't understand what went wrong, since he did everything right. But then he realizes something important. He forgot one of the Knight's Code rules, to honor those he loves, because before leaving, he wasn't honest with his mother. With that in mind, Alex goes to talk to her. When she sees him, she hugs him in relief, saying she was very worried. Alex then tells her the truth about his father and finally understands why she always wanted to protect him from that past. That moment brings them closer again, but Alex still has a mission to complete, so he decides to prove that everything he said is real. He fills the bathtub with water and summons the Lady of the Lake. At first, his mother doubts him, but everything changes when a hand rises from the water holding the legendary Excalibur. Now, Alex returns to his friends and to Merlin to decide their next move. The eclipse is about to happen, and with it, Morgana will become even more powerful, so they're going to need help. Then Alex comes up with an idea to recruit all the students at his school and turn them into knights. When they arrive, Merlin uses his magic to control the principal and gather all the students in the courtyard. Alex explains what's happening and his connection to the sword, but no one believes him, until Merlin transforms into an owl right in front of everyone, leaving them all stunned. Alex then asks them to kneel so he can make them knights, but at first, no one wants to do it. However, when Merlin convinces the principal to announce that there will be no homework in return, everyone immediately agrees. With that, Alex and his group begin handing out armor, swords, and shields, training all the students. On top of that, using magic, they get the parents to hand over their car keys, which they'll use as improvised mounts. Hours later, the entire school turns into a fortress ready for battle. And just as the eclipse begins, Morgana's army rises from the ground. Alex gives the order to start the plan. The students use the cars to block the riders at the entrance. At first, it works, but some of the creatures manage to break through and invade the hallways, forcing them into Phase 2. Now, led by Alex, Betters, Lance, and Kay, the students face the creatures directly. They hold their ground as best they can, but the enemies keep coming, and there are more and more of them. Realizing they can't hold out much longer, Alex orders a retreat to the roof, where Merlin plans to open a portal to trap Morgana. However, just as they arrive, the witch appears and quietly moves in to attack Merlin. The wizard shifts back into his adult form and tells her she will never win because Alex and his friends have something stronger than her magic, courage, and true honor. Morgana decides to test his words and transforms once again into a massive dragon, unleashing fire across the entire rooftop. Fortunately, the students manage to dodge the attacks and use ropes to tie down her legs and neck, trying to stop her from breathing fire. Even so, the witch manages to fire a blast of flames straight at Merlin. At the last second, he tries to protect himself by turning into an owl, but the flames engulf him and he falls, badly weakened. Alex runs to help him and finds him in terrible condition, but then remembers something important. Using a mix of Merlin's favorite snacks, he manages to create a kind of potion that restores his energy. Now recovered, Merlin uses all his magic to create a massive portal capable of trapping Morgana. Seizing the opportunity, Alex charges straight at the creature. The witch tries to finish him with another blast of fire, but just in time, Alex uses Excalibur and cuts off her head in a single strike, while the rest of her body is pulled into the portal. With that, Morgana is finally defeated. Everything comes to an end, and the students celebrate their victory, knowing it was all thanks to Alex and his team's courage. The next day, Merlin returns in his adult form and says goodbye to the four friends. But before leaving, he gives Alex a new book, this time telling the story of their own adventure. He also advises them to keep growing and become great leaders, because one day, the country might need them again. Finally, Alex throws Excalibur into the water, and a hand rises to catch it, carrying it back to the Lady of the Lake, where it will remain until a new hero is worthy of wielding it once again.